Hi, how you doing? And welcome back to DeeLee Plus. My name is Damian Lee, and today I have more posts from r/BestOfRedditorUpdates for you all. As always, I'll read through the entire post before giving my opinions, and if any of these stories resonate with you, I encourage you to sound off in the comments below. And with that out of the way, sit back, relax, and I hope you enjoy. Originally posted to askamanager.org, January 27th, 2016, and shared to BestOfRedditorUpdates, August 16th, 2026, by DirectCaterpillar77, my new hire turned from Dr. Jekyll to Mr. Hyde. I'm a manager at a large nonprofit. The budget is tight and I'm short-staffed. I finally was approved to open up a position with the understanding that it would be a 90-day trial period, and at the end of that period, the organization would evaluate how well it worked and then decide whether or not to make that person permanent, non-exempt. I hired a guy who had great experience and great references and was amazing in the interview. For 90 days, he was great. Fast learner, very motivated, put in extra effort, reliable. I was happy he was working so well, and my bosses were happy that they approved my staffing proposal. Towards the end of the 90-day trial period, my hire started asking pretty frequently about being made permanent. Neither I nor my supervisor saw any reason why that shouldn't happen. He'd been great, and I was so incredibly relieved to have the help. So at the end of the trial, we made him permanent, with benefits, PTO, vacation, the whole lasagna. Since then, it has been a nightmare. He has become a completely different person. He's only been permanent for a month. The very first week, he called in sick 3 of the 5 days. He comes in late and leaves early, is constantly making mistakes, he refuses to read or answer his emails, is rude to my other employees and upper management, and has hung up on patrons. I've gotten a lot of complaints. I met with him twice to address these issues. At the first meeting, he said he was just confused about time off, organization policies, etc. I was confused because he did fine for 3 months, but gave him the benefit of the doubt and did some retraining, etc. But mistakes kept happening. He continued to miss work, and he stopped even trying to get along with the others. I met with him a second time in a much more serious tone, but I also asked him if there were any issues outside of work that might be the cause. I just couldn't wrap my head around the day and night difference in him. He didn't like that and said there weren't any outside issues that were any of my business, and then became very antagonistic and defensive. This meeting ended on a rather sour note. Now, I've been hearing from my other employees and also upper management that this new hire is complaining about me and the organization constantly. I heard from my direct boss that the higher-ups are getting concerned. While writing this email, I got a meeting request. I just met with our payroll and HR manager, because not only is my hire somehow in negative sick leave and PTO, but he has apparently been using his lunch hours to barge into her office and argue about his time off, trying to get the organization to pay for it for various reasons. Oh, and he tried to access bereavement leave to cover a vacation. I am beyond mortified. I fought so hard to get this position approved, and I desperately need the help. I'm afraid that this will turn my higher-ups off to keeping this position, and they'll do away with it. And I'm frankly embarrassed that I hired this guy. I feel like a failure. I'm disappointed that I let my bosses down, but I'm also disappointed in myself for not being able to clamp down on this guy's shenanigans. Any suggestions on how to talk to my higher-ups to keep the position? Or how to deal with this hire? I'm at my wit's end. An update was posted April 21st, 2016, 3 months later. I want to sincerely thank you and your readers for your insight and commiseration. It was a huge relief to hear what everyone had to say, especially knowing that everyone felt it was as bizarre a situation as I did. I'd love to supply everyone with an update that has a bittersweet but ultimately good resolution. I took your advice and went to my ED a few days after you posted my question. I just laid it out for him. I told him about the 90 days being fine and the ensuing nightmare once he had been made permanent. I told him about my concerns for the position, both with this guy in it and what would happen if he were let go. And once the conversation got going, I also ended up sharing how embarrassed I was for my hire's behavior, both towards patrons and the full staff, and the fact that I had brought this guy onto the team. It ended up being a great conversation about my role in the organization, and it was a relief to know that my director was just as baffled by this guy's behavior as I and all the AAM readers were. As a side note, a lot of readers assumed this was a younger hire out of college, but that is not the case. It makes this whole situation much weirder, and I probably should have mentioned in the OP that Mr. Hyde is in his early 40s, and it was coming from a similar position he'd held for many years at a sister organization in another state. For legal reasons, my ED and HR decided the best course was to put him on a PIP. Not what I would have wanted, but there it is. When I met with Mr. Hyde to discuss the terms of the PIP, he handled it as gracefully as you'd expect, by initially refusing to sign it, demanding to get his lawyer involved, but eventually signing, albeit with a very poor attitude. Enforcing and tracking the PIP was just the worst. It was a lot of extra work that compounded my already heavy workload. And while Mr. Hyde was generally improving on trackable issues by making fewer mistakes, his attitude and general professionalism got as low as it could go. It was difficult to manage, however, because a lot of the ways he did this were in grayish areas. For example, we don't have a mandatory dress code because we're all adults who know that when you come to work, you should look presentable and, well, clean. He would come in smelly gym clothing or filthy t-shirts and jeans, to the point where visitors would comment on the office smell. He would take his breaks at the worst times possible, leaving my other reports to deal with the fallout. He would speak on the phone with donors in a snarky, sarcastic tone, using terms like ma'am or sir to address them. His responses when these issues were addressed were about there not being a dress code, so how was he to know? How he had to take breaks by law and didn't realize it was a problem? Or how his tone with donors was just being polite, etc. I hope this makes sense. Basically, he was doing his job in the most passive-aggressive way possible. Professionalism was included in the PIP, and I just have to assume it didn't take that portion, or me, seriously. I was incredibly frustrated, but hadn't realized how frustrated my team was, until one asked to meet with me. This report is one of the most passive, patient, and empathetic people I've ever met, and so I was completely floored when he asked to make a formal complaint about Mr. Hyde. In short, I had no idea some of the things that were happening when I wasn't watching Mr. Hyde, and of course my team wasn't aware of Mr. Hyde's PIP, but the information this other team member brought to me was enough that I met with my ED that same day and asked for immediate termination, regardless of preserving the position. And that's exactly what happened. Mr. Hyde was terminated, and I did lose the position. But as your readers commented, just having the toxic element gone has been completely reinvigorating. My team is so much happier, and what seemed like a heavy workload previously is now approached by everyone, including myself, as worth the effort to maintain our workplace morale and overall sanity. But here's the real kicker. Earlier this month, I attended a conference and happened to run into my counterpart at the organization Mr. Hyde came to us from. I couldn't help myself and had to ask if they had any issues with him since I'd gotten such a glowing recommendation from his supervisor, which wasn't my counterpart. Turns out, they had numerous problems with Mr. Hyde, but his supervisor was unwilling to fire him and was apparently thrilled when I called for the recommendation. He hadn't known Mr. Hyde was looking to move on and gave me a great recommendation in order to pass him off without any unpleasantness on his end. That supervisor basically passing the trash is crazy to me. And my thought was, when he starts the first 90 days, that trial period, and he's so like the model employee, feels like kind of a ploy to be like, all right, I just got to keep this act up until I'm permanent, then the wheels are coming off. And that's exactly what happened. It can either be someone just cruising along until they know they have a secure position and just being like, perfect, time to be lazy. Or it could be someone, and someone in the comments suggested this, that it could be someone going from job to job trying to get fired so they could drop some sort of like alleged wrongful termination lawsuit and collect some cash. I think it's just kind of shocking for me for a professional in their 40s to put their best foot forward before it's a permanent gig, and then the minute you've secured that permanent position, I don't know if they thought permanent meant I'll never get fired. That's not what that means. It's just, I can't wrap my head around it. And there's no performance improvement plan for someone who's just shitty, They tried it and it just can't work. Next post. Originally posted to r/amItheasshole, June 29th, 2021, by IllSecretary205, and shared to Best of Redditor Updates by Choice Evidence 1983, August 15th, 2026. Am I the asshole for telling my friend that she needs a life of her own and she has to stop leeching off of mine? Hi, my 25F long-term friend, 25F, has a history of doing whatever it is that I'm interested in at the moment. She asks questions until she's got a clear idea of what music, books, or movies I'm into, and then does a whole act of how she discovered that in front of the whole friend group. Being the pushover that I am, I'm sad to say that I've let her do this for some time, while slowly trying to put some distance between us. This also extends to people. Any new friend or acquaintance I make should be cleared with her, and then she makes a friend move on them to get closer to them. She has even tried to weasel her way into my family gatherings and private events. She also, for some reason, keeps telling my dad that she's like the daughter he would have wanted? He's as confused as I am, but we learn to laugh it off. I've recently noticed that she is rarely interested in something of her own volition. All her leads are from me. I've been getting tired of her behavior for a while. Things came to a head a few months ago when she started texting a guy, 27M, I've been speaking to for a while. Went on a few dates, nothing serious as of now, but I'm hoping there would be, and telling him how compatible they would be. He was confused and thought it was me texting from her phone, so he double-checked with me. I, of course, was beyond angry, but instead of confronting her immediately, I told him to ask her why she's doing this, and if she was aware that him and I were almost a thing. Her response to him was to flirt even further and say that her and I always had similar tastes, but went on to mention how he might be better off with her. He sent me the screenshots, and I sent them to her and said, "You need to leave me alone. Things in my life are not for grabs. You've leeched off of me for long enough. If you keep this up, I won't have an issue shaming you in our friend group." She got very standoffish and accused me of tricking her by using the guy's phone to make her look bad. She also proceeded to speak badly of me to our friend group. I might be the asshole, cause all this while other than trying to keep some distance between us, I didn't properly voice my concerns. She did, however, notice my discomfort at various occasions, especially at my family gatherings. So am I the asshole for handling things this way? The verdict, obviously, was not the asshole. Relevant comments. Commenter 1 says, "NTA, but I'm not sure you understand what friend means, because this girl isn't one. Yes, you were a bit harsh, but I can understand your frustration. Her behavior is beyond steamrolling your boundaries. It's outright disturbing." OOP says, "Every time I try to put some distance between us, she shows up with a personal issue that she can only share with me, and she always guilts me by making it seem like she has no one else to turn to. And every time, so stupidly, I get looped back into the drama." A downvoted commenter says, "Everyone sucks here. She's clearly showing some honestly creepy behavior, and trying to swoop your guy isn't cool. But two wrongs don't make a right. And I feel you responded in anger and could have handled it better. That being said, I think you have 1000% valid points to tell her. But given your long-term friendship with her, I think a civil conversation would have been in order, instead of threatening to ostracize her in your friend group." OOP says, "I wasn't in the greatest state of mind while replying to her. I was honestly just beyond myself with anger, and I agree I could have handled it better. But it was sort of like the final straw that broke the camel's back." Commenter 2 says, "NTA, yes, you could have said something sooner, but this is obviously inappropriate behavior. And you have good reason to suspect that she's known all along and isn't a hopelessly oblivious amoeba." OOP says, "I was hoping she would catch on to my discomfort and the timing of me trying to move away, but she would never acknowledge that." Commenter 3 says, "NTA, but you should have just pretended to be into something really awkward and shameful before this incident. Definitely mislead her from now on, if you guys continue to be friends. I wouldn't, but I'm not you." OOP says, "I really wish I did now." Commenter 4 says, "NTA, I wouldn't say I'd shame her to the group, but I'd definitely tell them what she was trying to get up to. If you'd be ashamed of your friend group finding out about something, you probably shouldn't do it." OOP says, "So some of our friends have mentioned to me how she has in the past seemed to ignore my personal boundaries, especially with my family events, and how some of her comments seemed off. I've discussed how her trying to copy me has affected me in the past with two of my super close friends, so it wouldn't be such a shock to them, I feel." OOP shares an update July 8th, 2021, 9 days later. Firstly, thanks to everyone who commented to help me out. Some of it was tough love, but I read every comment and had a chuckle at a few. But it also helped me realize that this issue wasn't as simple as someone copying my interests. So after posting, I rang up to one of my close friends to let her know what's been happening. She seemed appalled at how my friend made a move on the guy I was seeing. She also confided in me that she often keeps telling her how good and well my life is, and how she wishes either her family was like mine, or her job was like mine, etc. She thought it was just harmless wishing, but when everything was put together, it just seemed so unhinged. I also spoke to my dad and mom about how unnerving it was to have her try and do all the things I do, when they told me that once, a few years back while I was completing a work experience training in another city, she offered to come stay at my house to keep them company. They honestly thought she was joking because she lives in the same city with her family, and my training was only for 6 months. So, with this new information, I decided it was well and truly the time to cut all contact with her. I've let my friends know that she is no longer a part of my life, and to warn me about plans we were both part of, and most of them seemed to see this coming. I have also decided to stop being around her other close friends. My friends have also told me that they'd keep her from knowing anything about me or my life updates. I was the one who brought her into this specific friend circle. A few of them already didn't get along with her, so they were cool with not hanging out with her. After not texting back for a while, she texted me to say, "Are you seriously going to let this one guy take away our years of friendship?" Something along the lines of that. And I just said, yes. She kept texting and calling constantly, and eventually sent a message saying, "I hope you and the guy don't work out," and then blocked me. I had refrained from blocking her because I didn't want her to aggravate her or have her show up at my house, but after she blocked me, I blocked her on all social media and told my parents what happened. So anyway, I feel better not having her hovering around my life, but I'm sure she's going to try and initiate contact sometime. But this time I've decided to stand up for myself. Relevant comments. Commenter 1 says, "I'm happy for you, but I'm also afraid for you. Hopefully she'll move on to something else, and she probably will. Do you have security cameras? Do you always make sure your doors are locked? Does she know where you work?" OOP says, "Yes, I recently moved back in with my parents as my work switched to a work from home format, and this place is equipped with security cameras, and we have 2 German Shepherds, which I'm pretty glad about." Commenter 2 says, "I wanted to throw out some tips so you can protect yourself, OP, just in case. Change your password so she can't log into your accounts and read your messages. She might have found a password you wrote down somewhere, etc. Go through your friends on social media and delete anyone that you're unsure about. Consider not using social media as much or just post rarely in case she uses another account to view your profile. Make sure your parents have blocked her as well. Consider not going to the same spots to eat if you frequent the same place. Maybe go to a different grocery store if she lives close by. If you can afford it, get security cameras. If she unexpectedly shows up at a grocery store or at your gym and tries to talk to you, start recording her on a voice memo app. If she ever leaves notes on your car or shows up to your place of work, that is a big red flag. If any red flags of stalking start, tell your employers about it as a preventative measure. Also tell your neighbors so they're aware of what she looks like and what car she drives. If a few red flags happen, then contact your local law enforcement agency. Just in case, read about red flags of stalkers. She might start doing it, but probably won't. You can also read about obsessive disorders and lack of identity to understand her better. It's great that you've already told your friends about this. Don't keep things to yourself. Don't forgive her. You can't trust her. Good luck, OP. OOP says, "Thank you greatly for this list. I'm currently working on removing people from my friends lists. Since we still have restrictions where I live, there isn't much of a social life going on, and I work from home currently, which is good." Commenter 3 says, "Good for you. It's lovely to have an update, so thank you for that. I'm glad you've gotten so much support from your family and friends. I hope you can continue to live a happy and healthy life." Commenter 4 says, "Yikes. Write all of this down with dates and print out screenshots of anything you can. If she ends up stalking you, having this already prepared can be the difference between getting a restraining order or getting ignored by the police. This is deeply concerning behavior, but it sounds like you're doing everything right. I had a stalker that escalated to an attempt to kill me, with no consequences from the police, and the stress that being constantly on guard against a threat is physically and mentally draining. So, my advice to you is that she's not a threat just yet. You don't need to become super vigilant. If she intends to escalate things, you will definitely know about it. So for now, just keep being discreet, but don't get obsessive. That wreaks havoc on your body. Most likely, she'll find something else to obsess over. If she does escalate in your life again, then you need to take that very seriously as a safety risk. But you're not at that point right now. You're making good choices, and I'm glad that your tribe's protecting you. This story feels like that OP's friend watched Single White Female and was like, that's what I want to do. That's who I want to be in life. I've been inspired. Thank you, Single White Female movie. I know what I must do. But a lot of the people who commented had it right. She was not her friend ever once. She was obsessed with becoming her. And I don't really know why that happens. And I feel like I've seen milder forms of this in larger friend circles where one guy will get interested in something and then someone else will all of a sudden really have a huge interest in it. They're like, oh yeah. And it's kind of just to spend time with them more, you know? And I feel like that's a milder version of what happened in this story. I guess it's just hard for me to wrap my head around. Is it a need for connection? Is it an insecurity thing? Is it a sense of self thing? Is it do they feel like if they mirror you, is that going to earn more? I don't know. In this case, I don't think it was to earn approval, but it's just, it's bizarre to me. Next post. Originally posted to r/relationships January 26, 2018 by user Feeling Water and shared to Best of Redditor Updates August 15th, 2026 by Direct Caterpillar 77. Me, 29M, and fiance, 23F, been engaged 1 month. She wants a better engagement ring. My fiance Rachel and I are not materialistic people, but somehow I'm finding myself in the middle of a problem that's all about money. I make about $95K a year and have a career with some upwards mobility. Rachel is a 911 dispatcher making around $32K a year, and that's pretty much where she's gonna stay for the foreseeable future. She loves her job because it helps people, and I respect that. I pay more than half the rent for our pretty nice apartment, and we're able to live comfortably, but frugally. I'm pretty much happy as long as I live in a nice space and don't need to go out and do a bunch of costly activities all the time. We don't overspend on going out to eat or big shopping sprees. Planning our wedding has been similarly frugal with a $10,000 budget. One area of savings was the engagement ring. Rach insisted she didn't want anything extreme, so I went with a 1mm gold band. I think it looks very classy and clean on her, and I thought she liked it too, until yesterday. She sent me an email with some links to rings on Etsy and asked if I might be receptive to a conversation about getting a different engagement ring. One ring has 7 diamonds on it. One ring is a big moissanite solitaire. Her favorite ring has 3 diamonds in a row on it and costs literally 10 times what her current ring cost. Is it wrong that I find this off-putting? We're very practical people, and I don't think it's financially prudent to spend a ton of money on a piece of jewelry with no function. I don't like people who care more about engagement rings and weddings than the marriage, and mostly I don't want to get in a fight with my fiance over money. TLDR, should I have to buy my fiance a diamond engagement ring? Would it be fair for us to split the cost if I do get the ring? Relevant comments. EGPT says, a simple gold band is traditionally a wedding ring. It sounds like you proposed with a wedding ring. OOP says, I was going to get a second gold band to be the wedding ring. If you Google 1mm gold band, several of the pictures have the women wearing too. Miss Anthropic says, you're not very familiar with women's jewelry, are you? Those aren't wedding rings. They're stackables that are meant to be worn in multiples. Wearing a single stackable is kinda weird. Those are what I call fashion rings. They're casual jewelry. I mean, you can call a single stackable band a wedding ring, but it would be highly unconventional. It'd be okay if she was okay with it, but it's obviously not what she wants. Jack Not Named says, according to De Beers, based on your salary, you should spend $23,000 on an engagement ring. 3 months salary, right? This is bullshit and a huge waste of money. Diamond prices are inflated by a monopoly. That said, there is a lot of social pressure around this. Someone at her work most likely made her feel cheap or unloved or both because of how insignificant a simple gold band seems. Talk to her. Let her know you love her. See if you guys can't find something better that you both feel comfortable with. OOP says, yeah, $23,000 on an engagement ring would be absolutely insane. If she asked for that, it would practically be breakup territory. She didn't mention anyone at work commenting about the ring, but it's possible. I really don't want to get a new one though, because I can't return the one I've already bought. And I'm inherently uncomfortable with the idea that I need to get her a better ring, since the one I picked out isn't good enough. User Veronica Dietz says, "Wow, holy shit, I am incredibly against the diamond engagement ring propaganda in this country, and I fucking gassed at this comment. Please note that you're uncomfortable making your incredibly reasonable fiance incredibly happy because you'll lose 68 unrefundable dollars." User Jiltro says, "Rings on Etsy and moissanite rings tend to be pretty inexpensive. How much are we talking here? No, you shouldn't have to buy your fiance a diamond ring, and it sounds like she's not demanding one. But I think it's fair that she likes the ring she has to wear and see every day for the rest of her life. And if you can afford it, it seems silly to dig your heels in over this." OOP says, "I can't link it here, but if you go on Etsy and search LE3N59-N, that's the one she wants. Her tone isn't demanding, but I can tell she really wants an upgrade." Clever account name 13 says, "That one cost $695, and you're balking. She's accommodating your cheapness, and you are balking. You're blowing this badly. How much did your phone cost?" Sunshine Norcas says, "He said it's 10 times more than the one he bought, so he spent $60 on her engagement ring." OP shares an update 4 days later on January 31st, 2018. "So I really took your guys' advice to heart and resolved to get my fiance a better engagement ring. I realized that I really dropped the ball by spending less than $100 on the first ring, and that she deserves something that she loves and a ring that will last for a lifetime. I took her to a couple of jewelry stores to look at rings with a $3,500 budget in mind. She ended up going cheaper than the max budget and picked out a 3.3 carat moissanite solitaire that she is absolutely in love with. I feel like every time I look over at her, I catch her staring at her hand with a goofy smile. Admittedly, it was hard to spend over $1,000 on a cosmetic item, but it gets easier when I see how happy she is and how excited she is about getting married. I apologized about dropping the ball on the first ring, and we ended up having a 2-hour conversation about our values. She said she was hurt I cheaped out so much and proposed with a fashion ring, but she also felt a lot of pressure to not come off as materialistic, so she didn't want to complain. I opened up a bit about my family's money troubles growing up, and how it's informed a lot of my current spending habits. We talked a lot about our upcoming marriage and what we want our lives together to be like. Then we got around to addressing the elephant in the room. Rachel told me that she thinks I think she's a burden, and that I wish she would quit her job, 911 dispatcher, and get something that makes more money and has better hours. I honestly don't mind at all that she has a crazy schedule, and I think her job is very important and should be paid more. But I will admit that I have thoughts about her developing some new skills and moving into something that makes more money. I've been feeling a small bit of resentment lately for paying a much bigger percentage of rent and bills, but I also really want to live in a place that fits in Rachel's budget. She wants me to see that there's more to a career than money, and that her job gives her a great deal of personal fulfillment. I'd like her to be open to the possibility of moving up the career ladder in her field, whatever that may be. Basically, there has been some resentment and differing expectations built up on both sides. Day to day, we're happy. She's the light of my life, and I could say with 100% certainty that I want to be with her no matter what. But we also have some things to sort out, and so I'm looking into premarital counseling. TLDR, I bought my fiance a real engagement ring that she loves, and we had a long conversation that unearthed some resentment from both of us. We're going to see a counselor to help us talk through our problems, but we were also very much in love and excited for the future. Final comments. A deleted user said, "Definitely look into premarital counseling. I think you could really benefit from it as your problems are fairly easy to work through. Congrats on the ring purchase and the engagement. There's nothing better than looking at your SO and seeing them giddy and love-struck because of something caring and loving you did." OOP says, "Honestly, seeing her so excited has really helped me get more excited for the wedding. I even made my own ideas board on her Pinterest account for stuff I think would be fun to add." It's kind of crazy, this story, because you read the title and you're primed to think that this is going to be outrageous, like he spent $2,000 on a ring and she wants a $25,000 upgrade. Like, that's kind of what your brain is primed to think from the title. But $60 on a ring is kind of crazy to me. Like, I haven't proposed to my girlfriend yet. We're waiting for her to be out of college. But I already have my plan my budget, and I don't think you need to get a super expensive ring. I personally like to be on the side of a ring being more like taking interests into mine and doing something that is either closer to custom or has like elements that they like. Like I like birthstones in rings. I think that's very nice. Or like one thing that I've played around with for a little while is for the band of the ring. I want to get. I'm originally from Florida. Bree is originally from California, so I wanted to get the sand from both of those coastal states into a wedding band, and I just think that's a nice personal touch. I don't think you have to spend, thousands and thousands of dollars on a ring. I think it matters more to be like, hey, not spend $60 cheap. I don't think you should be Eugene Krabsing it all the way to the fucking altar. But I do think, looking at it with a more personal touch matters more than the dollar amount. And this guy kind of failed on both ends until he got his mind right and took her ring shopping. Next post. Originally posted to r/relationships on May 4th, 2016 by Kagai_Cobra Kai at, and shared to Best of Redditor Updates August 11th, 2026 by Direct Caterpillar 77. My 30F mom, 65F, was responsible for my dog being killed. Then it got worse. Don't know how to handle this. I'm really struggling here, especially with Mother's Day just up ahead and everything. I could use some help. I got my dog, Golden Lab Mix, in 2008 when she was a puppy. The last year I've been moving and traveling, and my mom lives alone and has a big backyard, and she offered to take the dog in. Dog was an incredibly well-behaved girl because I worked really hard training her. My whole life we had dogs, but they were never trained properly and left in the backyard. I remember my mom always getting frustrated with the dogs because they handled so poorly on a leash or jumped on people, etc., because none of the adults in our family took the time to train. When I got dog, I swore I'd have one of those dogs you saw in the movies. So, dog was great off leash. She would stay by my side and knew all level of commands after years of work. When I left her with my mom, I was incredibly anxious, because I knew I had a firmer hand than my mom as far as discipline, and knew my dog had a certain relationship with me that she might not have with others. So I made it explicitly clear to have her always have dog on a leash, even though everyone in my family knew she was great off leash. Not on walks or in the park, I'm talking just in the front yard or something. But I was nervous and hyper aware of other dogs and other people / cars / etc., and was quick to get to dog or commander back in the house, etc. I remember when I came home to visit Christmas and saw dog and how happy she was. My mom too, she loved dog, but saw my mom having her off leash while she made trips to and from the car. I put dog on a leash and told her, I know she doesn't run off or anything, but you just never know. I mean, is that a phone call you want to make to me? And she agreed. Dog always on a leash. Well, I did get a phone call a few days ago, which I knew to be serious since my mom only calls when it's serious. It was simply my mom's voice saying, dog has passed, it's already over, I'm so sorry. I couldn't process, but I knew how, and I told my mom I'd call her back. I cried, called some friends, waited a few hours while I processed, and called her back. My mom told me my worst fear. You were right, I should have had her on a leash, I'm so sorry. I was cleaning up the front yard and she was just by my side. Then she saw a big dog across the street and just bolted, and the car hit her. I took her to the vet, but they lost her. I was supposed to protect her and I didn't. I'm so sorry. Please forgive me. The whole time my mom was crying, I knew she loved that dog too. And the guilt. I can't even imagine how difficult that call was. She also had to call my bro and sis. Sis in particular was very attached to dog and would take her camping, hiking, and swimming when she had the time. So I told her, I forgive you, it's okay, I love you, I gotta go, and hung up. A few texts back and forth, my mom telling me how hard it is coming home to an empty house, and me just being sort of numb. She texted asking if I wanted the body to be buried or cremated. I texted back cremated and she said okay. I wasn't angry, just incredibly sad and depressed about the whole thing. This was 5 days ago. While I didn't call my mom or get a chance to see her, she also didn't call or text besides an occasional, how you doing? Which I would reply, as well as can be, etc. I didn't get any texts or phone calls from my siblings. I was on Facebook yesterday when I saw my sister make a big dramatic post about dog, along with my brother, his girlfriend and her kids, my mom and my sister, all spreading ashes on the beach. I can't even describe how devastated I felt. It was like I got punched in the heart. I called my mom and that's when the anger came through. I asked what the hell they were doing and my mom was stunned and stammered that they were just spreading dog's ashes. I demanded to know why I wasn't notified they were doing this, and my mom replied that it just sort of happened and that my bro went with her to pick up the urn and sis happened to be home and they were all talking about it and sis was just so devastated. She needed some closure before going back to college, etc. I could tell my mom knew she fucked up, but she had no explanation why I wasn't texted, called, fucking anything regarding this. I feel like a crazy person because it was just this circular I don't know over and over again from her. I feel so hurt and disrespected. I asked if they kept any ashes and my mom quietly said no, and I hung up. She's texted me and called multiple times, but I haven't answered. I'm so beyond hurt and angry. I've never lost something so dear to me, so I have no idea how rational I am. I understand it's just a dog, but she wasn't. She was my friend. I raised her, trained her, took her with me everywhere, and it was just this last year that I didn't feel it was fair to her to travel so much with her, and I trusted my mom, and this all happened. I don't even know how to process. I don't know where to go from here. I really don't. I can't even look at my phone because of all the guilty and apologizing texts. I just want to be left alone. But I also don't want my mom to hurt, but I'm so confused as to why she would do this or what possible logic she could have. Advice would be appreciated. TLDR, Mom was dog watching my dog and had her off leash after I told her not to do so. Dog was hit by a car and killed. Then my family took her ashes without me and spread them on the beach. Found out on Facebook, trouble processing. Edit. For questions in the comments, and thank you to everyone replying, I'm reading every one. Yeah, I live about 30 miles away and while I don't have a car, I would have taken a cab or a bus if need be to attend any sort of ceremony. The rest of my family all live within a mile of each other, and sis goes to college in the same town they do. I tried asking why I wasn't invited or even notified, but my mom wouldn't give me any response to this question, which is why I'm so angry, hurt, and confused. Edit 2. Just received an email from my mom. I haven't responded. Dear, I know you're grieving and can't talk to me right now, and I understand that. I know it's my fault, and I thank you for not saying it is, but you would be right to do so, and if you did, that would be okay too. I can't forgive myself, so if I understand if you can't forgive me right now. You trusted me with your dog and I let you both down. It never should have happened. I knew better. You told me never let her in the front yard without a leash. Just 30 seconds was all it took. If I had just turned back a split second earlier, she would have followed me. I will relive it over and over in my head for as long as I breathe. She was such a big part of everyone's life. We all have memories. It's unbearable to me that she's gone. I just loved her so much. We all did. I didn't even realize how much I talked to her until the house was empty. I can't sleep in the bedroom. I can't be in the backyard and see her toys. I have no reason to go home anymore. But she was your baby. You picked her out, you raised her, and she was always so happy to see you. She was so special in every way. If I had just let her go back to you, she would be here. But you generously let her be with me. I'm so sorry, and there's nothing I can do to make anything better. I'm so sorry about the spreading of the ashes. I had no right to do that. None of us did. I don't have any explanation other than we were all emotional. I don't have the words to express how sorry we all are. I don't want sympathy. I'm not feeling sorry for myself. I'm feeling sorry for how I failed all of you, especially you and Dog. I deserve every minute of this pain. But you don't, and I will regret that eternally. I love you, Mom. OP shares an update on May 5th, 2016, the very next day. Thank you to everyone who left a comment and who also told their stories of their own pet loss situations. I read every one. I don't know if anyone cares for an update, but I have one. To answer questions, I did send my mom $100 a week for food, toys, flea meds, and also paid any unexpected vet bills. Dog was prone to ear infections. Since traveling has died down a lot for me for work, I told my mom earlier this year I could take her back anytime, especially if she needed a break. But I think my mom really dragged her feet since she loved dogs so much. I liked that my mom had someone in the house with her, especially a bigger dog who could alert her to things outside, etc., and help her exercise with walking. There wasn't any urgent need to get her back ASAP, but I was ready and willing to. I did also visit when I could, at least once or twice a month for dinners, movies, etc. So, update. My brother called me in the afternoon yesterday, after my mom had sent the email. He's 28, a weightlifting bartender, dude bro kind of guy, and it was really hard on him when it all happened since his mom, little sister, and girlfriend, and her 2 little kids, were around when all this happened and they were all upset and crying. He called to ask how I was doing and to let me know he was sorry because it was just really overwhelming and he had no idea what to do. My mom was a total mess on the day, and my brother left work early to be there for her. His girlfriend was also in the picture since, I didn't know this, his girlfriend and her kids were playing in the backyard at my mom's when this all happened. Girlfriend heard my mom screaming and helped get dog into the car. Bro let me know that it was sis who was adamant that they hold some type of impromptu ceremony after they received the ashes a few days later. He and my mom both brought up me, but she stated that it was obvious I wanted time alone and that these type of things upset me, so it was best to just do it just then. Then she started crying and I guess that made everyone cave. Apparently it was a group cremation, which I didn't know was a thing. I assumed it would be individual, like with people. That knowledge sort of helped me since it didn't feel like it was exclusively dog, which might sound weird, I don't know. On the day, my bro called the vet and asked about the paw print thing, like they make a cast of it or something. The vet said my mom had opted out, but my brother asked if it was too late. They said it wasn't, so he said please do that. I don't blame my mom for opting out. She wasn't in the best headspace, and we've had morbid conversations before where she had said things like that creep her out and upset her. But my brother thought of me and thought I might like it. I would. So I really appreciated that he did that. Now for the weird part. Apparently at the beach, my sis, who was 20, took a lot of pictures and also used Snapchat and Instagram, which my bro knows since she was bitching about the lack of signal. He got angry but didn't say anything since he didn't feel it was appropriate. I asked about the Instagram since I wasn't aware she had one. He texted me her account and holy shit. There were 4 posts about dog's death and from the beach. More pictures than I'd see on Facebook. Apparently my sis is popular on campus and has thousands of followers on Instagram. Not only did she post about dog's death with big descriptions and photos, she straight up stole 7 pictures I had uploaded to my own Facebook over the years. Like when dog was a puppy, or in training classes, or chilling on the couch. Photos I took before sis even met her. She stole them from my Facebook, slapped a shitty filter on it and claimed it as her own on her Instagram, and put these big description or hashtags to them. A lot of you guys guessed it, she did it for the likes or comments, whatever. Or I'm being incredibly angry and not realizing this is how she grieves? I have no idea. It just left me feeling hurt and creeped out. I thanked him for calling me and told him I'd text him later, but that I just needed some space. He said no problem and he'd let me know when he could get the paw print to me. I called my mom after I spoke with bro and told her I got her email. She cried again and apologized. It was tough to listen to. She told me she bought a peony to plant in the garden in the backyard in dog's memory, but that it was too hard for her right now to do so since the backyard is emotional for her at the moment. I asked if she wanted to do any Mother's Day things this Sunday, and she said she hadn't even thought of Mother's Day, and that she didn't really feel like celebrating. She asked if I wanted to do something for dog this weekend, like maybe plant the peony. But I said I didn't feel comfortable with having Mother's Day associated with that sort of thing. It was kind of a downer. She asked if there was anything else I wanted to do, and I told her the truth, that I didn't feel like doing anything either, and that I kind of needed some space. She said she understood and that we could always do something later to make up for it. I didn't say anything about the ashes, or sis, or her Instagram, or that whole thing. It wasn't brought up at all, other than my mom being sorry for everything. Not sure if I should mention sis. I think my mom would get upset all over again. But then, I'm not sure if this is just how that generation grieves or something. My sis is incredibly hard to read, but we have never gotten along since she's very extroverted and opinionated, and I'm less so. I have no idea the next time I'll see sis or how I'll react when I do so. Yeah, it'll be interesting. We were already low contact since we don't have a lot in common, and she works and goes to school away from me. Not sure what to do about that. Sis turns 21 in June, and before this all happened, my mom asked what big present we should get her. That is so ridiculous to me. So the sister goes under OP's nose to basically, like, I don't even know, show off OP's dead pet for social credit? Is that, like, that's how I'm perceiving it. And I feel like she didn't tell OP because OP would have been like, no, why would you want to spread the ashes? Don't do that. And she needed that Instagrammable moment. We have to spread my sister's dog's ashes without her knowing. We have to do it. Instagram needs it. And this whole situation too was just so preventable. All the mom had to do was put the dog on a leash, and she just consistently dropped the ball. I'm just glad that the brother in all this did something good, you know? Like, it could have been like, oh, the whole family is an array of shitty, but no, the brother really did, like, step up. The paw print thing was such a nice gesture, and I'm glad that there's something positive to take out of that. And that's going to do it for this video, and I hope you all enjoyed. If you did, be sure to leave a like down below and subscribe because I upload 4 days a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday, so you don't want to miss an upload. Until next time, my name is Damian Lee, and I'll be seeing you.